Hi, I'm Jane Farnham of Great British Speakers, and I'm here today chatting to the aspiring and very mindful Anis Qizilbash. Anis, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking me and having me here.
I'm so excited about finding out more about you and what you do. So let's start by finding out a little bit about your life pre-speaking days.
So pre-speaking days, I was in a corporate sales role. I'd worked in technology sales, software sales, and media audience sales. So that's basically my background. I started out telesales, cold calling, and then when they let me off the phone, I could go and meet people and do all of that. And and then the deals get bigger, and then global sales, and so on. And in parallel to that, I started exploring mindfulness to deal with my own personal issues. I was depressed. I had been suicidal in the past and all sorts. So I had a lot of personal issues. So I started exploring mindfulness and I started practicing, and it really helped me, and it helped me in my work as well. And then after leaving the corporate life, I wanted to do something useful with my sales skills, these new powers that I had. And after 2008 startups, there were startups popping up everywhere. Friends would approach me saying, "Hey, you do sales. How do I do this selling thing?" So I started helping people, just the very, very basics of sales. But what I found I was doing was teaching them more about their mindset. Their mind was getting in the way of their ability to sell. So that's how I came up with mindful selling.
You just sent shivers down my spine talking about cold calling. I remember those from my student days. It is, I hate it. I can't bear it. But so it's so lovely that you've been able to, grow into your sales role and then obviously create this mindfulness. So we do know you as the mindful selling speaker. Was there one specific moment or experience that opened your eyes to this, or was it just your mindset at the time?
Yes, there was something that the aha moment was when I was working with this one person, and he was having this issue. Like he said, I really want to go and sell to these massive corporates that he would love to work with. And I asked him, well, why haven't you approached them? And he started telling me the reasons why he wasn't approaching them. And I'd already learned this mindfulness before. And then I told him, I started sharing a few mindfulness principles. We actually did it right there and then in that instant, a few practices. And that's when the light bulb went off. I was then able to trace back to certain moments in my career where I didn't realize I was doing activating the mindfulness principles to help overcome certain challenges, like launching this new product in the Middle East. We had this insane target, which seemed impossible. And I realized, oh, wow, yes, I implemented this particular principle. So I was then able to look back and think, yes, I can see how it all helped me in my work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's helping somebody else that it made you realize that that's what
exactly.
You were doing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the common misconception is that anything to do with sales is seen as associated with, car salesmen and double glazing salesmen. How do you debunk that? Because I know whenever I hate people selling to me, I can see people selling to me a mile off. How do you get past that? Because it's a very negative mindset that a lot of people find themselves in when they're being sold to.
Yes, the fact that you mentioned you can tell a mile off is brilliant. And here's how the way I feel that you can overcome that, because you are selling, you can't ignore, is when you go into a place, when you dig into your intention, when your intention is to serve that other person. When your intention is, how can I make that person successful, versus what can I get from that person? Even though we're told in sales, yes, you help customers, but the secret underneath that is, no, I need to land my sale, I need to hit my target. So you need to be honest with yourself, be authentic, do some inner work. How can I actually help this person? Does that make sense? It starts with
no, that makes total sense. And do you think then that the person that you're selling to can sense that and see that? Is it about honesty and integrity?
That's exactly it. When you are authentic, Because when we have this shield, when we're trying to sell, there is this shield, and this force is not your authentic self. You're trying to be this smiley, friendly, fake friendly person. And we can tell the fake friendliness too, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is awful. But when you are your authentic self, that's how mindfulness can help. Because what's happening is, when we don't realize it until we try practicing it, when you quiet the noise in your head, that constant chatter that's there as soon as we wake up and we start checking our phone, is this chatter going on. When you can silence that, that's when you leave space for your authentic self to come through.
Yeah, I get that. It's funny, you know, I was at a trade show earlier this year, and not long ago, in fact. And, you know, obviously when you're at trade shows, you get the event organizers coming over. And for the last 4 or 5 years at that show, we've had guys, it's very clear that all they want to do is, I'm not saying guys as in men, but the person whose role that was, to sell us the space for the next year. It was very clear from the very beginning what they wanted to do. And this year there was a young lady who was just amazing, and I don't know, I couldn't quite work out what her difference was, but it was that she was authentic and she seemed to really want to help. And I felt awful because I ended up not actually buying with her, but I had to say to her, it's nothing to do with your sales skills, because we really, you know, you are amazing and we think that you're brilliant, but it's about being authentic, isn't it?
And it touches you.
I actually wrote a letter to say thank you to her and to her manager and say how brilliant she was, because I just felt that she was giving me a service, not trying to sell me something.
I feel that. And how often do we go and, for example, even when we go and buy a coffee, the number of times we're served and it's the same old, but then every now and then, this one person, they are present. They're pouring that coffee like it's the last coffee on this one. Pow! And they hand it over to you and you just feel, wow.
Yeah, I get that.
Authenticity.
It is. You hit the nail on the head there, certainly, but you are, you know, the expert in this area. Now, is there an example when you've gone and spoken to a company and that then the organisation has implemented your concepts and then that's leveraged a massive benefit? Have you seen that in action?
Yes. There was an organisation, they were, all right, let me try this mindfulness thing. What do I do? And then I suggested just as usual, the minute before your meeting, don't shuffle through your deck, don't shuffle through your presentation, just breathe and listen to your breathing. And then he went into the meeting, so this is one specific example, went to the meeting, and instead of going through the usual patter, he received this insight to ask this specific question, and it changed the dynamic of the meeting. That person, it converted that person into a sale. And another example, attending a networking event, oh, here we go, you know, instead of being in your head, just being present, and the way they engaged with the person next to them, it completely shifted. That person also turned into a sale as well. These small little wins can make, you know, avalanche into a bigger, can avalanche into big sales everywhere. Yeah.
And what gives you the most buzz about speaking when you talk to companies?
Helping people. I love it when they come up to me. Oh my goodness, it doesn't have to be, it happened last week. Oh, that one thing you told me, it's changed it. It doesn't have to be negative. I know how to turn it into a positive, and how it's just given them tools to choose how they can show up. It's just the most fulfilling. It's the why I do it, to help people.
And that's oozing out of you. You can see you absolutely love it. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, what with lockdowns and the associated toll that's taken on our physical and mental health. I mean, it's just extortionate, the fallout potential from this. So have you been able to respond to organisations looking for more of a positive mental health outlook as well as mindfulness?
Absolutely. So the mindfulness, yes, it's the buzzword, but essentially I share some tools, some specific tools about choosing how you react to situations. And it encompasses building resilience and so on, but essentially it boils down to your mindset and being aware of it in every moment. I'm not saying to constantly observe what you're doing all the time, but there are some broad sort of frameworks I've been able to offer and a way of teaching how to adapt it into your day to day. From the morning, noon, after school, and even in your after school, even with your loved ones in the evening, so you can enjoy that rest time and have that rest. That makes sense.
Yeah, without that rest, we're good for nothing, are we? I
Yeah.
think this past year has been absolutely exhausting in so many ways, even though we've probably been doing a lot less than we normally do. Now, I have to say that Steve and I are very big fans of your vlogging sessions. Now, we'll feature some more of those on our website in due course and also on your bio page. But tell us about how these came about.
The vlogging, it came about, well, I just wanted to, first of all, I started doing it before well before the pandemic. So I just wanted to hone my skills on camera, just get better at that. Because it's a very different energy than when you're in person, right? When you're in person, you're constantly feeding off people's energy. So how do I do it? So that was one thing. But most of all, I just wanted to share more. There was so much I wanted to share, and how can I do it in little sound bites and little nuggets that they can take away, and just bring in more creativity, because I got all this background. I just started doing improv comedy, and I thought, how can I feed some of that into what I do?
Oh, wow, the comedy. So you actually go to for lessons, or do you perform?
I started with lessons. Actually, that's what I've been training that in during the pandemic. I started training in improv comedy. I started performing as well on screens and now in person. And now I've created a little troupe, and I'm looking to just do that more on the side. It's so much fun.
Oh my goodness. I take my hat off to you. You've actually made me have goosebumps twice. That's talking about cold calling and doing comedy and improv. Two of my worst nightmares come true. So well done to you. And it's just been so lovely chatting to you and inspiring. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jane.
Oh, you're welcome. And if you'd like to book Anis, simply contact myself or Steve at Great British Speakers on 01753 439 289 or email at bookings@greatbritishtalent.com.